Good morning. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today we're going to be talking about Baird. Yeah, taking a break from the battle bond pairs simply because I'm still building those decks and I'm further along on some of these Dominaria decks. So I'm probably just going to intermix from here on out. Still got quite a few Dominaria decks left to build, but I'm further along on them than I am the battle bond decks, obviously. Well, Baird is a vigilant 2/4 that costs too much mana, but you know what? That's fine. He's 4. I don't guess that's crazy. I kind of like him though. Creatures can attack. He's half of a ghostly prison, which I really like. So let me explain my thought process for this deck. I was like, well, Baird. Very first card I thought of was, as I said, Ghostly Prison. I said, well, so I kind of want all the Ghostly Prison effects. So there's Ghostly Prison, and there's Windborn Muse, Norn's Annex, and Sphere of Safety. So like, all right, so I'm controlling that combat step, or well, at least the combat step against me. I was like, well, let's go the extra mile and just say, hey, they just can't attack me. And then the Angelic Arbiter is kind of along the same lines. That's where my mind went after the Archon. I was like, well, it's close. Because most of the time, people will opt to cast the spells. Because most of the time, they'll forget about it and they'll untap, upkeep, draw, play something, and then you're like, whoops, you can't attack. Well, so then it's like, well, let's look at our ramp. Because I'll always try to put a little ramp in every deck to kind of, speed you up. So maybe you can play something ahead of the curve or ahead of when you're supposed to. So I looked at what I had. There's a lot better ramp out there. Y'all know that. Soul Rings, Dynamos, Lotuses, whatever. But this was what I had at the time. And I went, you know what? That's just not enough. Not enough. Need a land tax to help consistently get those planes. And I was like, well, since I am, playing mono white, because at this point I still really didn't know where I was going with it. It's like, well, I'm playing mono white, so there's a good chance I'm going to want a Sword to Plowshare, a Disenchant, Brave the Elements, Armored Ascension, and Mass Calcify, because those are like your core mono white cards. I even went back a little bit and I was like, well, I'm playing mono white, so I might as well be playing the Blinding Light, because this is a beating. Man, it is. And well, for removal wise, I'm probably gonna, want the Oblivion Ring. And if you want the O Ring, there's a good chance you want the Binding. So I'm like, all right, what am I doing? And I looked around and I said, you know what? That's an awful lot of enchantments. It sure enough is. So I guess what we've determined is that with no end goal in mind and just let me go, I build an Enchantress deck. I say an Enchantress deck. It only has the one Enchantress in there. Now, granted, it does have a few cards that are Enchantress-ish, like the Blessed Spirits, of course. Since we're doing it, we might as well throw Deneth in there. Celestial Ancient, course, Spirit Dancer, the Monk Idealist. Now, there's a lot more. SRAM is really good. There's a bunch more. But you'll see with the rest of the creatures here, there's some of these that are possibly holding some spots. Now, I'm running Krovax because Saplings scare me. And so do Goblin tokens, apparently. But Paragon of the New Dawn, anything. I was like, well, I want something to pump my dudes. I don't have a whole lot of dudes, which is probably why I'm running more board wipes. But Celestial Crusader is pumping the dudes. The Dictate of Heliod. Never, ever, ever thought I would run out of like crusade type effects, but here we are. Throw it in Brightling, just because I think this thing is absolutely amazing. Now, in Battle Bond, of course, it's the white one. I think the only one we don't have is the black one, which I predict will be called Darkling. But this one, I think this one's really... Oh, curious note, Morphling was the very first one, and a little history about Morphling. It was not supposed to exist. They commissioned the art for Clone. They were going to use Clone in that set for the very first time in a long time. But under the rules at the time, Clone didn't work. So they couldn't reprint Clone, but they had already paid for this art. And that's why, if you look at the original Morphling, it's got, pretty much the mirror image, because it was going to be a clone. And at the last second, they decided that they had to, they had paid for this art. They needed a blue rare, so they just jotted down some stuff. And I believe Morphling has 5 abilities, if I'm not mistaken. And that's how it got started. And of course, that was one of the early, all of those. At the last minute, we made some changes, and oops, we broke it. Just like Skull Clamp and everything else. Anyway, we have Soul Warden, because Soul Warden is amazing in a multiplayer format. Oh my gosh. Mentor of the Meek. For the life of me, I don't know why Mentor of the Meek is in here. I think this is a placeholder for something. 2 and a white, not sure. I know the White Knight is a placeholder for Shran. We know that. The Explorer's going to, give some lands. Angel of Serenity is just neat. I mean, I love her. Just 3 dudes. This is a 5/6 flyer and 3 removal spells altogether. So I like it. Speaking of repeatable removal spells, Intrepid Hero does not get enough respect. He really does not. Sarah Angel, classic, shiny. I'll be honest, that may have been what tempted me to put it in there. I'm thinking the casting cost is a placeholder as well. And of course, Emir Shepherd, because we are playing mono white, and we have 32 planes, I believe. So that's pretty neat, especially with some of the non-land permanents. If we just get really lucky and we Seal of Cleansing, and we can keep playing that plane to keep getting this Seal of Cleansing back, that's living the dream. So enchantments. Let's look at the enchantment base that I'm running. Since I did realize I was, running a bunch of enchantments, I was like, well, Ethereal Armor and Sigil of the Empty Throne. Now, Sigil of the Empty Throne is real close to Angelic Accord, but the problem is you got to gain 4 life. And that's not real easy to do a lot of the times. But if you've got the Angelic Chorus, which in theory drew you a card off the Enchantress when you played it, and from then on, you play an enchantment, you get the Angel from the Sigil, gaining the 4 life, and then you're going to get another. So that's kind of where I went with that. Speaking of pretty good auras, Battle Mastery is pretty good. I mean, double strike. Maybe we're suiting up SRAM. Maybe he's got Helm of, Smite You. Aura of Silence is going to keep your artifact people honest. Or, well, honester. There we go. Try to stretch out a little bit here. Nothing's cooler than, O-ringing something from everyone. Light Mind Field is, to be honest with you, I should have come across this one sooner. This should have been an early include. But it just discourages attacking, and that's kind of what we're doing, to discourage attacking until we get a good enough board presence to where we can do our thing. Kill with angel tokens, apparently. And to get there, white ain't got no whole lot of just repeatable card draw. I mean, we don't. That's one of the downsides to white, and it's supposed to be that way. That's why Boros is, the Boros problem. We'll just say that. But, so we're going to peel through some of these. Vow of Duty, it encourages people not to attack you, so I'm not above putting this on other people's commanders and just let them go. Banishing Light, right up there with the O-Ring and the, of course we have Pacifism and Seal Away and Cage of the Hand. Now, Cage of Hands, I really like this one. Now, there are a lot of utility creatures that are just not attacking or blocking. This is not going to do anything on Elish Norn, because Elish Norn's pretty hard, even if she can't attack or block. But I love the repeatable aspect here, that especially if you have your Enchantress in play or some kind of enchantment trigger, you can just, say you've got your little, what are the dead? The Blessed Spirit. You can keep getting them triggers. Now, Ivory Mask here, if it will pop in the box. Ivory Mask is not a popular card. There are better versions, but Ivory Mask was the first, and I love the Ivory Mask a bunches. I mean, big old bunches. It's an enchantment. Yeah, there are corner cases that just doesn't apply, doesn't work, but there's a lot that does. Shielded by Faith. I read this as my general is indestructible, and if I get something better, then I can reattach it. Now, Leave No Trace. Radiance is a forgotten ability. I love Radiance. I hate that they only put Radiance in the Boros Guild. Back then, Red-White was the only guild that had access to it. And I'm telling you, Radiance is beautiful. Even, I don't know, I could probably get behind even not calling it Radiance and just, because really it's just a marker word. Destroy target enchantment in each other. Destroy target creature in each other creature. Destroy target whatever. Or that it ain't even got to share a color, share a tie. I love this ability to get multiple, because potentially this is a tranquility for everybody but you. If you pick that, because man, black enchantments are just known for power. Blue's nothing to knock out either. And if you've ever faced down a Pandemonium or Warstorm Surge deck, that's ooh. Have Condemn. I don't know why I waited so long for Condemn. And Mana Tithe. Mana Tithe, I promise you nobody sees coming. People want value so much. They tap out because you look around and automatically you see no untapped blue mana on the board, and you think, I need one more land to cast my general, and I draw that land, and bam, tap out, windmill slam your general on the table, and you're like, pay one more. Now, it is likely to get you slapped, but it is a good card. I love Mana Tithe. Nobody ever sees it coming. Last but certainly not least is 10th with Glory. Now, all of the tempting offer cards, we can say here, not in a game, just me and you sitting around talking about it, we know the correct thing to do is pass, because whoever cast it, it's going to go in turn order, I guess around the left, or if you're playing that wonky plane chase phenomena. Danny. It's gonna anyway. Internal order. Everybody's like, yeah, sure. And the land one is nuts. The but all of them are the we know as smart Magic players, we know the correct thing to do is pass. I'm not going to do it, So you'll pay 6 mana here to put 1 counter on each creature you control. Now, but we also know that in game it never ever ever works out that way. It never does. You always somebody plays the land when they got some early ramp, they got their turn 1 Soul Ring and they're playing their, and you're like, man, I can get free ramp. I can get free any land, yeah. And but there's a million ways you find yourself justifying. Well, yeah, it's okay. Well, he's already got 4 lands. Everybody else is doing it, so let's just always say no. Just say no. Don't be tempted by the flesh, because the Boar Queen and whatnot. But anyway, that's what I've got for Baird. I do appreciate y'all watching. Kind of started with this one and didn't really know where I was going to end up. And this is where I ended up. Did open, got a couple boxes of Battle Bond. Obviously told you that. Jace's Spellbook came out. First one I got, well, my brainstorm was full, so that's cool. I do appreciate y'all watching. We're going to shuffle and cut.